Morning everyone. It's a chilly January day here in the garden, but that's not going to stop us from getting started on some early sowing. As you can see, it's actually getting a bit wintry out here, but we're not going to let that stop us. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't it a bit early to be sowing seeds? Well, yes and no. Here in Zone 8B, we can get away with starting some things off a bit earlier than other parts of the country. But we'll be getting these peas, onions, peppers and sweet peas going. These peas, for example, are a hardy variety that can actually handle a bit of cold. And these onions, well, they've got a long growing season, so it's good to get them started early. But the real reason I'm out here today is because of this video I've seen. They're planting potatoes in January. These are Jersey Royal potatoes, and they'll be ready to harvest by April or May. Amazing, eh? Now those Jersey Royals are basically a variety everyone else calls International Kidney, but they have to be grown in Jersey to actually be called Jersey. It's a bit like champagne. It has to come from that region in France to be called champagne. They have their own special soil and climate, and they even use seaweed as a fertilizer. I'll link the video in the description below so you can check it out. Now, I couldn't get hold of any International Kidney potatoes this year, but I did manage to find these Swift potatoes. They're also a very early variety, so hopefully we'll have some lovely new potatoes in a couple of months. Well, fingers crossed we do. Now, growing anything in January has its challenges. Light levels are low and it can get pretty cold. But with a little help from my polytunnel, and by choosing the right varieties, I can give it a go. This polytunnel is a lifesaver in the winter. It creates a nice little microclimate, keeping the temperature a bit warmer and protecting the plants from frost. It does still get cold in here, but not so bad as to be detrimental to most things growing. I'm going to try to grow these potatoes both outside and in, using an unused bed and my usual container approach. First things first, we need to get the soil ready. I like to keep things organic, so I'm adding plenty of last year's well-rotted chicken manure and garden waste compost to the soil. This will give our potatoes the nutrients they need to thrive. It's important to get plenty of organic matter into the ground, especially for potatoes. They're hungry feeders. Now for the potatoes, I'm spacing these about a foot apart, and I'm planting them about 4 inches deep. And that's it. Now we just need to keep them watered and mounded up as they grow. That shouldn't be a problem in the first few months of the year. Now, I'm also going to try growing some of these potatoes in my 30-litre containers. This is a great way to grow potatoes if you're short on space, or if you want to get an even earlier start. For the buckets, I'm using a mix of the new compost and remaining container soil from last year, adding a good handful of blood, fish and bone meal to the mix. That should give them a good boost. I'm going to make sure they're planted at a decent depth and have enough space to grow. I'll fill these up, adding some more blood, fish and bone to about 2/3 of the way up. Then finish off with some straw mulch to keep any weeds down, and that's another job done. Now, I'm going to pop the bucket in the corner of the tunnel. The polytunnel should help to keep the temperature semi-consistent, and hopefully it will also protect them from any hard frosts. For the ongoing care, potatoes need regular watering, especially when they're first getting established, and as they grow, this variety will need to be earthed up. This means mounding up the soil around the stems, which basically helps to protect the developing tubers and encourage more potatoes to grow. Right, let's sit down and get those other seeds started. It's a bit warmer here when the sun's out. I'm putting in 2 pea seeds per module. The strongest ones will flourish. The onion seeds are just being sprinkled over the compost. And very lightly covered as they enjoy a bit of light when germinating. As they start growing, I will prick them out and put them into their own individual modules. And with the pepper seeds, I'll also be pricking them out after they've germinated, so I'm only putting a few in this tray. And finally, some knee-high sweet peas for the front garden. I grow these every year and they're a favourite in our house. I'll be growing more in the summer, but I like to get an early start on these ones. I shall be starting the sweet peas and eating peas under the heated cloche. And when they've germinated, I'll leave them on the hanging tray I put up at the start of winter. This will stop mice and other pests munching on them. However, for the other seeds, I'll be bringing them indoors to something I built last year, my homemade Propagator Box. It's been brilliant for starting seeds early in the season. I built this because I wanted to have more control over the environment for my seedlings. It's got grow lights, adjustable heat control and vents for airflow. This means I can create the perfect conditions for germination, even when it's cold and miserable outside. There we go, all tucked in and ready to grow. I'll keep an eye on these and make sure they don't dry out. So that's it for this week's gardening session. We've got our early potatoes underway, both in the garden and in buckets, and we've started some peas, onions, sweet peppers and sweet peas indoors. Hopefully the experiment will be a success. If you enjoyed seeing how I get started with early potatoes and other January sowings, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more gardening adventures. And be sure to let me know in the comments if you've ever tried growing potatoes this early in the year. So, until next time, thanks for popping by.